Greetings, humans. I'm Joey Pigtails, and this is log 43, recorded last weekend in Orange City in the 1-2 PLO streets. I've talked before about the ups and downs associated with playing poker for a living, from upswings to downswings in the bankroll to upswings and downswings in mental and physical health. I want to focus on an upswing at the moment. It's cool that I'm continuing to pay my bills while growing my bankroll and life roll, but that's not the upswing I want to focus on either. I want to talk about the social aspects of poker, and the fact that over the last couple of months, I've truly enjoyed playing poker and commiserating with all of you at the tables. It's not just the good action either. The atmosphere we create together at the table becomes the envy of the entire poker room. Everyone wants to be a part of it. That's not just cliche. I can't recall a time when I've looked forward to playing and seeing all of you at the tables more than I have lately, and I want to thank you all, both the players I see regularly and those of you I haven't met yet. Your kind words of encouragement and friendly dispositions in our interactions means a lot to me. Keep being a good human. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't yet, and let's dive into the hands. Clark in seat 2 has a button straddle on. I limp this bottom of range king-king combo with 3 others to see Clark raise to 60, and we all call. On Jack-Jack-8 Rainbow, this ends up getting checked through. I suppose no one has Jack then. The turn is, oh, bingo, bongo, bango. Sorry, got excited there and thought I was someone else. Top boat. I'm in early position, so I check to induce a bluff, and the player in seat 6 takes the bait and fires 75. It's folded to me, and this player only has another $50 or so behind, so I put him in and he calls off, showing Jack 5, but we know that's not good enough here. I go ahead and rake this pot in. There's a limp before Clark opens to 25. I make the call with this somewhat marginal hand from the small blind, and like usual, in the best game in the room, we go 6 ways to a flop, which comes Jack 9-2 Rainbow. Top and bottom pair isn't much to get excited about. I check, and it gets checked through to my amazement. Even being rainbow, this board should smack a few hands in the face. The 5 of diamonds on the turn presents a huge opportunity to fire a semi-bluff, and I take that opportunity and bet 125 into 150. Stacks are deep at this table, and we want to build the pot. Seat 6 calls off for his last $85, but sadly, everyone else folds. A bunch of players start guessing my hand, but no one seems to get it right. That's okay. The 6 of diamonds on the river gives me the nuts, so I show them as I rake in this pot. Bomb pot time! I flop a jack-high flush on top, holding 3 spades in hand and seeing the king on the bottom board, which is important. And then I also flop bottom pair on bottom. It's checked to me in lay position, and this flush is far from the nuts, so betting it is usually not a good idea. I check, and it's checked through. I pick up 2 pair on bottom, and when checked to, I bet 50 bucks. This bet can just take this down right here, but it also gets value from worse hands too, as well as helps to figure out exactly where we are at the moment. Only seat 6 calls though, at least this field is smaller. The rivers are both 6s, not changing much. I check as both of my made hands are marginal, and it's checked back. I roll my hand over and it's good? Cool beans. There's a limp, then a raise to 25. I call, and now seat 6 raises to 80. Harry, Monique, the original raiser, and I all make the call here. On 7-5-3 Rainbow, my hand is marginal at best. It's checked to me, and I check along with our 3-better. I'm thinking an 8 would be a really cool turn card, and bam, there it is. Now, I want to talk about this for a second, because I made a huge mistake here. You'll notice something different with this hand. I only looked at my hole cards one time. They were already in order, so I never looked back at them. Don't believe me? Rewind and take a look at it again. So, for some reason I was thinking that 8 made my hand and gave me the nuts. It's the reason I led for $300 here when checked to. If I had looked back at my hand and saw that I not only wasn't made, but also lacked a heart blocker, I probably would have checked to evaluate and may even fold to a big bet here on the turn. But I didn't look back, and instead, I led for $300, only to get snap jammed on by seat 6 for another 450 bucks or so. I put in the call, rolling over my hand, looking on in horror as I realized my mistake, and then seeing my opponent already has the nuts. The river is a brick, and I wipe out nearly all of my profit on this session with just this one mistake. There's a button straddled to 5, I limp the small blind, and it's limped around to the cutoff and makes it 30 bucks. And as usual, 4 of us make the call. On Queen 10-8 Rainbow, top set is number 2 here. I check, and it's checked around to Chris and the button, who bets 100 bucks. I'm not ready to fold top set, even on a straighty board, so I call, and seat 2 calls as well. I want to see a board pair, and I don't have to wait long to see the 8 of hearts on the turn. I feel I lose value by betting here out of position, so I check and Chris rips his last 360 in there. I jam over, and the other player folds. Chris knows as soon as my money goes in that he's behind, or so it goes. The river is irrelevant, and I scoop this one to get back into Profitville. I open this double-suited triple Broadway hand to $20 under the gun and see 4 calls. On Ace-King-9 Rainbow, top 2 pair isn't that shabby since I'm the RFI here, right? I lead for $100 when check to, seeing a call before the small blind Hollywood check jams for $130, with both of us making the call, obviously. That Queen of Hearts should be a perfect turn card, right? I put my opponent all in, and he calls for his last 95. The river is the 4 of diamonds. I roll over my top 2 pair, and seed 6 and flop a set of 9s to take this side pot. The small blind flopped a set of aces, and I'm still wondering how I was the RFI in this hand and somehow last place flopping a monster. What the actual hell, man? We see an open at 20. I call with single suited and coordinated 8s, and 2 other players come along. On Ace-8-3 Rainbow, second set isn't too bad. We see a lead from seat 7 in the small blind for 30, and the other 2 players fold. While it is possible for the small blind to have aces here like we saw in the previous hand, I don't think this specific player would limp aces. That being said, the original RFI has folded, so I feel really confident my set of 8s is good here. My opponent only has $125 behind, and this is usually a way ahead or way behind spot where I figure I'm way ahead here specifically, so I put him all in, and he calls off. The river is a brick, and I end up scooping this one. I didn't get to see my opponent's cards, but I did want to know what he had, but he wouldn't tell me. Any ideas? Drop your thoughts in the comments. There are 4 limps to me in the small blind, and I limp in with ugly queens. The big blind makes the call as well. I've got top set again on Queen 5-7 Rainbow and bet $25 to see 2 calls. The turn is the 3 of hearts, bringing in the obvious front door straight draw. I check, and seat 6 bets $50, about half pot, and the button folds. Huh. I don't think a made straight here would bet so small, so what is this? I put in the call acknowledging I'm going to have to call a river bet a lot of the time, even if the board doesn't pair. It's the kind of decision we have to make before putting that $50 out there. There's still cards that can come where we will fold, but not a whole lot of them. The river is the ace of spades, and that's not one of those cards that changes the nuts or makes the board more coordinated than it already was. I check, and my opponent bets $85. The small sizing looks valuey to me, but I already decided I was calling on the turn, so I stick it out there. My opponent rolls over a set of 7s, one of the only value hands I actually beat. There are 2 limps to me, and I limp the button with this triple Broadway hand. This is usually an open, but I limp it for a few reasons, including my suited ace being with the king. It makes it hard to get paid with made flushes, so we are looking to hit other things. The big blind makes the call as well, and we're off to a flop of Ace-King 5-2 clubs. It's check to me, and I bet $25 for top 2 pair, getting 2 calls. I bank another king on the turn, and when checked to, I bet $50 looking for some crying call value from somewhere. Note that in previous hands this session, I would check this back looking for river value, so I'm mixing it up and employing some of that linear bet sizing to make it look fishy here, and seat 2 makes the call. The river is irrelevant, and my opponent checks. I want max value here, but I feel a pod size bet gets folds too often. I settle on 125, and my opponent does make the call after a little bit of time, so maybe the sizing was just right. Here's another bomb pot, and I've got a pretty decent starting hand too. I flop top trips on top and a gut shot on the bottom, but notice I'm out of position here. We can argue for a bet, but I decided to check in here in real time, and it's checked through. I boat up on the turn, and the bottom is unchanged. I fire out 75, but only my friend in seat 2 makes the call. That sucks. We want multi-way action, but whatever. I missed that gut shot on bottom, but I pick up top pair there. I bet out for $200 for 2 reasons here. I expect to chop this the majority of the time, but if my opponent isn't nutted on bottom, he might find a fold for this amount. Also, it's possible a worse 6 will call with worse than my hand on bottom. However, my opponent makes the call and has a straight on bottom, so there you go. One more bump pot. I don't flop much on top, but top boat on bottom is a sight to behold. It's checked to me, and I put out a $50 pull bet, hoping for a bunch of calls. Sadly, I only get two, one from Friday, who has returned to the game in seat 2, and one from seat 7. You'll recall the last time I flopped kings full of queens in a bomb pot a few vlogs ago, the turn was an ace and I got wrecked. Let's hope this doesn't turn out like that. The turns are both sixes, and it's checked to me again. Let's keep building this pot, or just take it right now. 175 is the bet. Friday makes the call pretty quickly, but seat 7 takes some time before putting the call out there. The rivers are relative blanks for my hand, and Friday now ships it for his last 200 bucks. Seat 7 goes into the tank for quite a bit of time. It was quite a while. He ultimately found a fold. I made the call, and Friday has the top board, so we chop this one up. Check this out. Friday opens under the gun to 15, seeing 2 calls, and I make the call from the button. We can argue for a 3-bet here with this specific hand, but I'm out of position here, which is part of the reason I didn't. Flopping top trips with a king, I check to Friday, the aggressor, who bets 25, and only I make the call. This is usually a weak non-made ace, but can be other things. The turn is a queen, and I now make Broadway. I like this card a lot for a lot of reasons, and check with the intention of raising, as something tells me Friday is weak here, but he checks it back. The river is the 3 of spades, and I stick out a blocker bet of $25. Friday and I have some of these funky table dynamics where we like to mess with each other, and he's really suspicious of this bet. He announces fold and shows me pocket 10s for an underboat. Oh man, that blocker bet worked! I show him my Broadway straight and ace blocker, and the room erupts in applause. Just kidding. It was pretty baller though. If you happen to watch this video during the premiere, know that I am literally heading to Orange City right now to record the next vlog. Come say hello. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Joey Pigtails, and I am transparent, reminding you to be a good human. Bye!